Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there, and welcome to the program. It is the 4th of December, and lots going on. The Pope is tweeting, the princess is pregnant, and people are walking around Pittsburgh, PA on the 4th of December in flip-flops and shorts. Yiko! Welcome to the program, and it being Tuesday, my sister, Susan, is joining us from St. Louis. Hi, Suze. Hi, Suze. Not? Suze, you there?
Should be.
She's not. She might be, but she can't be heard.
Okay.
Well, okay. Well, hi, Suze. Bye, Suze. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Get you on. What do you think what do you think we should do?
Try to call her back.
Okay. All right. My guess is she's probably there in some form. I don't know. Okay. Well, so much for that. Listen, there is this extraordinary piece in the Washington Post that I came upon late last night. It is written by the famed journalist Bob Woodward of Woodward and Bernstein and Watergate fame. And it's a fascinating behind-the-scenes look at how Roger Ailes, the genius founder of Fox News, operates, and the incredible ease with which he bestrides both the media and the political realm. Now, anyone who ever went to journalism school knows that you are never supposed to bestride both those realms. It's not surprising, of course, because anybody except those who've been drinking the Kool-Aid that Fox has been dispensing throughout its history, nobody but them certainly knows that the so-called fair and balanced network is, in fact, a propaganda arm of the Republican Party. And that, in fact, it serves the Republican Party. Is Suze there? We're going to try one more time. Susan? No, there's got to be some button that ain't pushed. Something somewhere. Who knows? Well, Suze, if you can hear me, nice knowing you. I always loved you, Suze. Was that something? Susan, keep singing just in case, you should pop up at any point, assuming you can hear me at all. Carlo, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, follow the directions.
Okay. He's following Jess is not here today. Carlo is sitting in for her, following to the letter the directions that Jess left. So, if we can't get you on, Suze, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your morning. I'm just going to go with Susan. If you can hear me, I guess we'll give it up. We don't know what the problem is. So I want to get back to this Washington Post Bob Woodward story.
Oh, I can hear you.
Oh, what happened?
I didn't pull this off.
Oh, you didn't pull. Here we are. We're Suze.
Yeah, hi.
Well,
that was awful.
Well, weren't you intrepid? I was telling you to go away. Forget it. And you hung on. Thank you. Could you hear us all the time?
No, I could just hear noise.
Well, that's pretty much hearing us.
Right. No, it wasn't. I couldn't I could make out a word here or there.
Huh. Well, glad to have you here, and now we can continue. I was just talking about. I was going to share this incredibly, I think, interesting story that was in the Washington Post today by Bob Woodward, of course, Woodward and Bernstein fame. And what he has is an audio recording of a 90-minute conversation between General Petraeus while he's in Afghanistan, managing the war there, and a Fox News contributor and former national security analyst, Kathleen McFarland. Now, I'm assuming she is the one who had the tape recorder. She had gone to visit Petraeus for whatever reason, and he, who was always known to know how to massage the media better than any other general has in recent memory, of course, let her in, and he sat down and talked to her for 90 minutes, but here's the rub. In the 90 minutes, she essentially says to him that she has a message from Roger Ailes, the founder and the head of Fox News. And the message is that if Petraeus is offered the job of CIA director, he should turn it down. If he is offered the job of head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he should take it. And if he is not offered Joint Chiefs of Staff, he should resign the military and run for president. This is in the spring of 2011. In the course of the conversation, it becomes sort of clear that Rupert is quite willing to bankroll a Petraeus run. Ailes is suggesting he might even run it. In fact, one of the lines, just as a quote from the tape. So, okay, McFarland says, the big boss is bankrolling it, Roger's going to run it, and the rest of us are going to be your in-house. So,
unbelievable.
Well, here's what I want to say. Here's what I was saying while we were trying to get you on. Unbelievable. What's unbelievable is, it's not like we don't know that Fox News is not a legitimate journalistic organ, that it is, in fact, a propaganda arm of the Republican Party. But even this, it's so Rupert will bankroll it. Ailes, by the way, has denied this. Totally. He has, he's throwing the woman, Kathleen McFarland, under the bus. And his quote in the piece when Woodward called him to ask him about all of this, he said, it sounds like she thought she was on a secret mission in the Reagan administration. She was way out of line. And he goes on to, disparage her by saying, I don't employ her. She's a contributor. And then to add insult to injury, he says that he's not paying her much. She's paid less than $75,000 a year. And I guess that means that's the end of that. So you can't believe a word she says. Why would she think she was carrying a message?
No, it means he knows how to treat his women.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And here's some other interesting things that come out of this. Petraeus says to her, you know, I'm interested in the CIA job. Even Ailes is saying, don't take that. That's nothing. And listen to why he's interested in it. This is fascinating. He says he thought the CIA was, quote, a treasure. Quote, Petraeus, I think that organization is full of just heroes, unsung heroes. You know, we're going to be retrenching militarily. And then he says, in contrast, the CIA is going to be taking on a lot of what used to be military. And he says, I think I think the CIA is going to be a growth industry. Isn't that somehow chilling?
It's just, the whole thing is totally scary.
Well, you know, Petraeus is right about that. If you stop and think about, you know, the drone warfare we got going now.
Well, no, he is right about that.
That's handled by the CIA. The CIA was not supposed to be a military outfit.
No, war is going to become a computer game.
It pretty much is, isn't it?
Yes.
Except where it isn't, like, you know, Syria,
where
people
the
are
people
just,
that are at the end of the drone.
Oh, so anyway, so this is a meeting that took place 18 months ago, was recorded. The recording is on Bob Woodward's desk now, and I'm just, and here, and get this now. So, of course, this is before Petraeus' affair is found out and all this kind of stuff. It's before, in fact, he was appointed to the CIA. So after McFarland says, okay, so the big boss is bankrolling it, Roger's going to run it, and the rest of us, well, we're going to be your in-house. And Petraeus responds, yeah, right, okay. And then she says, we're all set. And he says, never going to happen. You know it's never going to happen. It really isn't. Get this. My wife would divorce me. And I love my wife.
Interesting.
Okay, listen to the rest. We have a beautiful house with his and hers bathrooms, believe it or not. No. Okay, yeah. I just want to live in it. I've never spent a night in it. Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is one of those peeks behind the curtain that just is... It's interesting. My wife would divorce me, and I love my wife. How odd.
Well...
How odd. So,
But imagine what happens to a guy that has, you know, people coming to him and saying things like this to him.
Right.
No matter how delusional he might think or we might think or how awful we might think they are. It was, I mean, I'm sure it was just constant. At some point, you know, you take a piece of candy.
And get this. At one point, McFarland, the woman, says, everybody at Fox loves you. And then she said that Ailes also wanted her to ask Petraeus whether, get this, whether there is anything Fox is doing that you want to tell us to do differently. These are journalists. This is, I mean, to me, it is. And then he actually goes on to tell her what he would like them to do differently. He said, because you're so against Obama, you're against the war that he's now waging, which is the war I'm waging. And it's not helpful to me for you to do that. So I don't know what to. And here's the other amazing thing about this story. Washington Post today. It's not front page.
It's not front page? Well, no, I guess not, or I would have happened upon it in my morning wanderings.
Well, it's not front page. And that's shocking to me. But there it is. I mean, Washington Post today, and it's headline.
Well, if it's not front page, it's not front page because, because of the carefully constructed deniability. They send yet another woman out there as the bait with the message, and they're perfectly happy to shoot their own messages.
Yeah. Wow. Beyond, I mean, it's not like you're surprised to hear any of this because it's what we know Fox and Murdock to be, that they're all about owning and controlling media, but using it for political ends in a way that, I'm sorry, guys, the New York Times doesn't do.
No. And this, I have to tell you, it's like you're looking at the Church and Scientology. I mean, they construct their own reality. They watch themselves make up their own lies. Then they believe them, and then they're surprised when the requisite number of other people don't, because it's not true.
God. Ale says. Oh, here's what, you know what else he says, Suze? Oh, yeah, I did it. I told her, yeah, tell the general that we really think he should only go for joint.
So there goes the deniability.
He's saying, don't go for Joint Chiefs, but he says all the other, here's what he says. It was more of a joke, a wise-ass way I have. I thought the Republican field in the primaries needed to be shaken up and that Petraeus might be a good candidate. And then he went on, it's someone else's fantasy to make me a kingmaker. It's not my job, he says. Bull. So, anyway, there it is in all its... in all its glory, and the audio is there. 90 minutes. Could Petraeus possibly have known that a tape recorder was running? Why would he have said some of the things he said? I just don't know. It's beyond me. Beyond.
Well, he certainly, in the quotes that you're saying, he certainly acquits himself well.
Ailes. Oh, no, Petraeus.
Petraeus.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the guy you want him to be.
He does say at one point when she brings it up that he says, Rupert's after me as well. So he's heard it already. And Susan, speaking of Rupert...
Yes, I know.
Oh, Susan has always been, you were reading this rag that he had, and that was just for the iPad.
Yeah.
And you must have been the only one reading it because it's lost a ton.
No, there was me and then a bunch of rabid right-wing.
This is where you used to engage in
whom
battle.
I couldn't resist jabbing. It was just too much fun.
Oh, that's too bad because it says here.
It's
over.
It was a worthless piece of junk. It was very high tech and pretty, but the content was, just more of the Kool-Aid.
Final issue, Susan, of the Daylee on December 15th. It only lasted 2 years. You paid for this. It had 100,000 subscribers. You and 99,999 rabid ditto heads. But it had 100 employees, millions of dollars in losses, blah, blah, blah. So they're deep sixing it. By the way, PJ writes, Bob Woodward's story is incredibly interesting. And then he said, I wanted you guys, though, to tell us how much we are all interested in the Duchess and Duke being pregnant. And hi, Susan.
Yeah, well, I'm very happy for them, and I think I'm from a long line of old superstitious Jews that think you shouldn't talk about such matters until they're much further along.
Well, I think generally that's the rule over there, too, to not say anything at least until 12 weeks. But what happened is
she's so sick that
she had to
put
be
her in the hospital for
hospitalized, and
IVs,
so then
yeah.
that was it. So bad enough to have it be your first pregnancy, bad enough to have this violent reaction, and bad enough to have the fact that you're puking uncontrollably, all over every front page in the world.
I mean, I know that she knew what she was in for, but they really, I mean, she's had a baptism of fire, you know.
Well, she'll get it's the full dye treatment. It is. But somehow I think she's going to withstand it somehow.
Well, she's a whole lot older and a whole lot, more prepared, I think.
Okay, here's a question.
And she struck a better bargain. I think she loves.
I think they seem to be in love.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see that thing about love, really passionate love lasting about 2 years in a marriage, and then it goes into that, where you have to get your bearings again because it ain't going to be that passionate love. And they say if you hold out for like 20 years that you have a chance of getting back to that sort of rediscovery and passionate love. What do you have to say to that?
I mean, I think Eric and I, that's exactly the path that our marriage took.
Uh-huh.
And it's the rather gloomy thing that I say to people on the day that they're married. I usually find a moment to say, it's not all about the party. What you just did is really important because sometimes all that keeps you together is the promise that you just made each other.
Well, that's a very, very good thing to say to people.
Well, it's true, and you should remember it. A marriage is work, and sometimes it's just plain stubbornness.
On the other person's part.
On both of your parts, that you just won't, you're just going to stay.
Oh, you're saying, I'm miserable, I'm angry, well, up here, but damn it, I'm staying in this. It's that kind of stubbornness.
And then you are richly rewarded. Somewhere in that vast middle range of, if you're lucky, 15 years, maybe more like 20, you look at each other and you say, oh, hell, let's stop screaming at each other already. We aren't going anywhere. And you get back to you amicably agree that each of you is exactly who you always were, and you're ready to accept it and move on together.
And that's called the companionable stage, where you're just,
where you're
fine
by
and
that
comfortable.
You mean that we're enjoying each other.
And that you're comfortable.
Yeah,
you're comfortable. You're enjoying. You're accepting. You're this and that. But exactly. But it strikes me that an awful lot of people who get married, when they make that vow, they aren't really even thinking about that.
No.
I mean, they really aren't. There's in the back of their head. They know the fine print. Okay, I say this now, but the fact is I can get out of this anytime I want. I mean, I really think that's in a person's head.
Right.
So.
Well, I see. I didn't feel that way, and I was lucky enough that I married someone that didn't feel that way. And then we were lucky enough that we could negotiate it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of that's luck.
No, and hard work.
Well.
Yeah, both.
Both.
Okay, here's what I want to ask. When did this term red line all of a sudden become such a thing that everybody said? I swear, I'm sure it's been around for a long time, but the one who started it in my head was Bibi Netanyahu standing up in front of the United Nations with that cartoon picture of a Roadrunner bomb and then saying that this is the red line. And everybody's talking about that red line. Now, and since then, I've heard red lines in regard to the fiscal cliff negotiations. Hillary Clinton just yesterday said something about a red line to the Syrians. You do that, that's our red line. Do you remember people using that term before?
No, it's what is this, a meme?
Is that what happens? One person says it, and all of a sudden we all see red lines everywhere?
Right.
What would Hillary Clinton have said? You think Hillary Clinton a year ago would not have said to the Syrians, and that's our red line? She would have said, I can't remember what we used to say when these things all of a sudden seem to, just sort of like, I don't know.
Creep into the lexicon.
Well, I'm sure it's been around forever that something's a red line you don't cross. I always thought it was just a line you don't cross. When did it become red?
I think Bibi was thinking of his laser pointer.
But why did everybody pick it up? You watch, because I know when he said red line, I thought, what? And then, because it's a line you don't cross, right? A line in the sand. I know that one. This is my line in the sand. This is a line you don't cross. This is...
it's usually more stop at the white line if I'm thinking about traffic.
Okay, but that's not... And there's also the lines of, like, defense where... isn't there something where the police never rat on each other? Isn't that called the... What's that thin blue line?
The thin blue line, right.
Is there a thin red line? Well, where the hell does this stuff come from? Anyway, it bothers me. I don't know why the line would have a color anyway. I understand blue if it's cops. But this is a red line for the United States, Hillary was heard to have said.
Well, it's just a mix. It starts with a basic mixing of metaphors. It's a red. The color of stop is red.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he takes that and adds it to there's the line in the sand. He just.
But you think Bibi started it?
I
That's where I first heard
yeah.
it. Okay. Well, but I bet we're wrong. I bet it's someplace else. But I mean, you as usual can come up with what sound like reasonable, explanations. They're filled with bullshit.
Oh, here comes the answer. I sense it like Carnac.
Yeah, but let's see if we don't. Head. Okay, let's see if we can do this call though. Hello.
Hello,
caller. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Robert. I'm calling about red line.
You're calling about red line. Yes. Exactly what we're talking about. Yes.
Yes. With red lines in locomotives and automobiles and airplanes, red line is a danger line. You don't cross the red line. That's why all tachometers on a car have a red line. I think it has to do with danger, and I think it has to do with the most something or someone can tolerate.
Well, that's a very good explanation.
Well, I'm guessing that you could use this in politics and world events. I'm not sure.
Right, but you're right. I mean, stop and think about that. That red line. Don't go over that.
Right.
That it's graphic. Yes. Good one. Hey,
okay,
thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay, now let's try not to knock Suze off, because this is where I would always... Susan, you there?
Uh-huh.
Ah! Woo! Woo!
I'm so proud of you.
That wasn't me. That was Carlo.
Well, I'm proud of Carlo, too.
Yeah.
Because he had a rocky start.
He did it. Okay, now, that explanation sounded very good.
Yes.
Right.
But I would like to point out that it's as much bullshit as anything I ever say.
But I think his bullshit was better than your bullshit, actually.
Well,
It's all they were all the red line. Anyway, enough with the red lines. Stop it already. It's annoying me. And now that I've pointed it out, you're going to see red lines all over the place, too. That's all I hear now is red lines, red lines, red lines. Okay. I think I better get a break in here. Yep. I just looked at the clock, and I will. So let me get that behind me, and we'll be back. Lots of other stuff to talk about. Stay tuned.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
36 countries, 150 artisan groups, a world of handmade treasures, and one place to discover them all. 10,000 villages, home decor, jewelry, gifts, all one of a kind, fashioned one at a time. At 10,000 villages, each item tells a story.
When somebody else takes that beautiful item, I want to carry that beauty to them.
They're gifts that give twice, because 10,000 Villages is a fair trade retailer, providing sustainable income to artisans in developing countries.
Fairtrade has been the possibility to have what we have now.
Enriching their lives while bringing exotic elegance into yours. Surprise your senses. Express your style. Experience the new. Step into 10,000 Villages.
I feel very beautiful making these products, and I want all our customers to feel beautiful wearing them.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Yeah, and her sister Susan. Susan, I happened to read the Bill of Rights last night. And I don't...
What, is it printed on your toilet paper? What?
Yeah, actually, I had renewed my ACLU membership, and they sent me a thank you and a little thing with the Bill of Rights on it and a few other amendments as well.
Yes.
And I just started reading it, and I mean, it's just brilliant. It's brilliant.
I know. It's when you stop and think that someone actually thought these things up and wrote them down.
Yeah, figured out
figured out that these things needed to be written down in just this way. It's absolutely, I agree with you. It's like watching the Bible being read.
Right. I for some reason, I've read, I guess, these things before. I have never been so struck by the brilliance of it. Just listen to the first one. I mean, we take these things, we say, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech. Here it is. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Do you know how much is in that?
Right.
That's one
well,
sentence.
Enough in there that there have been multitudes of court cases.
Right.
That I mean, what it's an incredible document because it resulted in a Talmudic response.
Yes, that it constantly has to be
argued and refined, and it is capable of such interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the Fifth Amendment. What do people know about the Fifth? Oh, he pleaded the Fifth, right? That's
Right.
what most people know. He pleaded the Fifth, where he doesn't have to incriminate himself, right?
Right.
But it's a lot more than that. Listen to the Fifth Amendment. God! These guys were something. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia.
Right.
When
and you see that there's that's
a
why there are
separate military
force.
code. Right. Nor shall any and they say when in actual service in time of war or public danger. This shows that things can get a little dicey there, right?
Guantanamo.
Okay. Nor shall any person be
Gitmo, right.
Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. You cannot be tried twice for the same crime. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor...
That's a big one.
That's a huge one. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
And that's a huge one.
That's eminent domain, right?
That's eminent domain.
That's all in the Fifth Amendment.
That's all in the Fifth Amendment, and that thing ranges all over
the place. All over the place. The Fourth Amendment's another doozy. Jeez. And the order of them. Who came up with this? Four, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Yep.
Wow.
And that one's going to the Supreme Court.
Because
we've got to figure out whether, sticking a GPS with all of this technology.
That's right.
How much is just out there? We can access it. Can we use it? Or is it, an infringement of our rights?
Right. Let's say, because in the future, as I said, we're going to be looking out the window and there's going to be all these little private drones flying around, these little teeny drones.
In the future,
right?
If you drive a car with an iPad, with a pass through a toll, you're being photographed and your location recorded, and people are using those things in divorce cases all the time.
Okay. So what constitutes that right that we have to be free from these kinds of, searches and intrusions, when now the capacity for the state and or business and in other just regular ordinary other people to do that kind of thing, it would have been in manners that would be unthinkable to these folks, the founding fathers. That would be
right.
Unbelievable.
But it is the essence of good legal writing, because it is spare, and the fact that it's spare. Which is not to say that it isn't eloquent, but it is spare, and that's what allows for all of the interpretation.
Right.
Adjectives and all the flower stuff it limits, and each of these words is down there with all of its implications.
Okay, I'm looking at the 19th Amendment now, and it's very spare, but I think it would be written differently if it were written today. And it says, the rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. I sort of tittered when I read that, because I think we would say gender now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Wow. Just Wait, we got some emails here, Suze.
But that's why I like to, remind young women especially that it wasn't 100 years ago that women did not have the vote.
That's right.
That our grandmothers were born without the right to vote.
And just because something gets appended to our Constitution does not mean that it will be enforced as it should be. Because you look at the 15th Amendment, which was more than 100 years ago, and that thing was not enforced for almost 100 years.
Right.
It says the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States, sounds just like the 19th, or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Well, states abridge those rights left and right.
Well, still do. I mean, anytime that you see a massive voter suppression, movement out there, it is always aimed at a minority group.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this
Democrats.
case, it's the minority trying to defend themselves from everybody else. But you get my drift. This is the same thing.
I was listening to a fascinating conversation yesterday, and I forget who I was listening to, about the Republicans keep making these statements like, well, we weren't expecting the urban vote or the social underclass to be the turnout there was. Somebody actually said something about rousted out of their apartment buildings.
Right.
Well, what? And
I got an email from a friend saying, who is a suburban woman saying of my age, saying that doesn't describe me.
What? But it's like when they talk about the citizens of the country, the voters, and whenever they're talking about somebody who's not a white person like them, they have to put them in these little boxes, underclass, as if somehow there's something not quite as legitimate about their vote.
Well, they're us, and everybody else is them. And them votes don't count.
They really, in their heads, sort of think they don't count. They shouldn't count as much as theirs.
They aren't supposed to count.
Wow.
Or they aren't supposed to actually exercise. Well, you can have the vote, you just can't use it.
Dorothea writes, if the term red line is bothering you, I'm just as annoyed with the term, here it comes, fiscal cliff.
I know.
Yeah, right.
Like we're going to disappear with the echoing scream.
Yes. And she says, I believe that fiscal cliff was first coined by Ben Bernanke. Yes, he did. He's the one who said it. And I'll bet he's regretting that now, Dorothea writes. But she says, it does raise the question, does the fiscal cliff have a red line? I think it does. That would be the lip of the cliff. In regard to marriage, Raymond writes, Lynn and Susan, I tell youngsters going through rough patches that I look at marriage like a chess game. In the beginning, the board is beautifully balanced on both sides with only 20 possible moves, everything in its place. In the middle of the game, that's with kids, mortgages, jobs, temptations, there is chaos and endless choices to make, many dry, perilous. Okay, we can take a call. If you get to the end when it's just kings and queens, the board is elegant again, with clear paths to a loving stalemate. Oh, that's nice. We got to go back to that. Caller, go ahead.
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
This is Jared from CMU.
Hi, Jared from CMU.
Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Uh-oh.
I think I can get you now.
Okay, go ahead. You go talk.
Okay, what I was going to say is in response to this whole issue of these voters that were described by the conservatives, is that one of the things that really struck me during the election was how it was that there were so many Republicans out there talking about these voters as if they were like rubber dummies sitting in the room and were almost like inanimate objects.
Right.
That they weren't listening.
Right.
And it really always struck me that it was just like, well, these are human beings and they're actually paying attention. And what happens at the election time is they turned out in bigger numbers than in 2008 because it's just like, they were upset.
And they were voting
for being treated like inanimate objects.
And they were voting for their interests as they saw those interests.
Yep.
And lo and behold, that's what it's about. But it's interesting how I think there's a whole bunch of these Republicans who simply can't get through their heads that those voters are every bit as legitimate as them.
Exactly. I would also say that it's that there's a sense that those people that their natural state is to stay home and not vote. That's the Republican point of view.
That's right. That's right.
And that they should actually deign to turn out and actually vote. Well, what is that all about?
Well, I think what we have to do, because they do tend, that same group, young people, a lot of urban voters, they don't vote as much in the off-year elections. Of course, either do suburbanites and white folks.
Correct.
Well, I'm just hoping that more and more people find out how much fun it is to vote. And if you like to vote, then you show up.
Right.
Right.
Right. I always show up.
That's right.
Hey, Jared, thanks.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you. Bye. That's Jared Day at CMU, who is the compiler of the wonderful Daylee News Nuggets.
Oh.
I recommend highly. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah, that's Daylee, Daylee News Nuggets. Back to Ray's thing, which I think was really lovely. Did you? Another caller. Ray, sorry, bud, can't get to your email. Okay. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hello, Lynn?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm just catching snatches of your show, but there was or is a phrase called the thin red line.
Yes, there's a movie.
Well, the thin red line refers to the Napoleonic Wars. It goes back into the 1800, 1810. The British soldiers, all the soldiers, then they lined up in a line. Most of the armies at that time, the soldiers were 3 or 4 men deep, but the British only had 2 men deep. So it was a thin red line because their uniforms were red.
Are you pulling my leg, or is that true?
Oh, no. That's true. I mean, if somebody wants to correct me, but I've been kind of a student of the Napoleonic Wars for, 40 years, off and on.
Okay, but wait. Okay. But so that, I understand that then. So that's the thin red line.
Right.
But is that the same red line that now seems to have a different meaning, which means don't cross it?
I did catch a snatch of a caller talking about red lines. And red lines, like I know in automobile racing, when you red line, your tachometer goes up to a certain point, and then there's a red line over which your engine may explode, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a red line. So there's been red lines. Different meters, electronic meters, would have red lines. I deal with a little bit of testing meters that do testing, and they have good and bad, green and red. So if you go over the red line, it's bad. So that's where the the term red line's been around, I think, for a long time.
I think so too. I just all of a sudden, though, it's being used, in geopolitics to the point where it's driving me crazy. Everybody's talking about red lines.
That's our pop culture. Somebody grabs onto that stuff. We don't have people with much imagination anymore.
Yeah, we couldn't make it chartreuse. Let's say.
Or, I'm surprised he didn't use a line in the sand.
Yeah, there's your line. And because, you're talking about the Middle East, there's plenty of sand. A line in the sand, BB should have said.
And my guess is,
what?
And this is just a guess, but in the Middle East, you don't want to draw a line in the sand because that's too provocative.
Okay.
Because it's like, if you draw a line in the sand, you step over it, we're going to do battle. That was the whole thing about the behind the line in the sand kind of thing.
Right, but so that's now the red line. If you cross it, we're going to be at war.
That's a little bit more diplomatic.
Okay, a little.
Well,
the point is still made.
Everything's about nuance nowadays, but people just grab onto these things. It's my wife and I have been talking the past couple weeks, and even with some friends about our society and how it's like just going so askew and so astray. We don't have grandchildren, but we have some great nieces and nephews and stuff, and I feel sorry for them.
I understand.
So
I understand.
But that's the thin red line.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're learning so much. Suze?
Yeah.
Hi. So can I get back to Ray's chess game just so we get it all in? So he says marriage starts out looking like a chess game. In the beginning, the board is beautifully balanced on both sides with only 20 possible moves, everything in its place. And then in the middle of the game, life. Kids, mortgages, jobs, temptations. And there is just chaos and constant choices to be made. And many of them very perilous. But then he says if you get past that, if you get to the end when it's just kings and queens on the board is elegant again with clear paths to a loving stalemate. The key is to get to the end game.
That's right. And I always felt so very sorry for my friends that seemed to have just made it there, and then one of them would fly the coop with the last kid.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. You mean quit right when they don't realize
quit
that they're
right when they got there,
because they didn't recognize it yet.
Right.
Too bad. All righty. Well, I'll tell you, we have bumped into a red line here. I got to take a break. We'll be back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Winter has arrived and it's cold outside, so get to Little's for all your UGG needs. Little's has Uggs for men, women, and children to stay warm with shearling-lined boots, shoes, and slippers. And don't forget to get your hats, gloves, scarves, and more, all available at Little's Shoes. Bring the entire family to view one of the largest in-store UGG shops in the U.S. Little's Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education, brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, welcome back. One more thing here, Gigi getting in on the red line thing. She said she did some brief research. I know what that means, Gigi.
She Googled it.
And to our other caller who said it was Napoleonic and British, she's got a little bit of a twist. She says this is going back to the 1800s and the Crimean War. It reportedly, who was in the Crimean War? The Crimeans?
The Crimeans, right.
The Crimeans. Anyway, she says it reportedly refers to Scottish soldiers in red coats in a thin line, holding off Russian soldiers. Okay, so we got Russians, we got Scots, we got English, we got Napoleon, whatever. I think we got those are all good. And I'm sorry.
Apparently, armies have one side in the war has worn red a lot.
Well, not any. That was before they figured out that they don't wear red anymore, I'll tell you.
No, that wasn't. That's maybe not so smart.
That was a different kind of war. That's where you just stood there and shot at each other. And it was gentlemanly to stand there and shoot each other. Oh, God. Well, that Gallup poll that comes out every December is out, the one where they ask Americans what professions they trust the most and which they trust the least. And I don't think this thing has changed much over the years. The least trustworthy profession is still car salespeople. Poor car salespeople.
Smirched. I mean, the poor guys.
I know.
Now you can get online. You know, if you're getting taken, it's your own fault.
Yeah. But breathing down car salespeople's necks. And if they just keep working a little bit harder, as they've, God knows, been doing, they could even dethrone the long-standing car salespeople, are members of Congress. They're just 2 points away. And actually, members of Congress have the most votes for where people would respond by saying, I have very low trust in them. There's no other profession that has that many very low. The next closest very low is senators and car salespeople. So,
well, Joanne Emerson resigned yesterday, which I just think it's. I mean, I've been trying to understand this. Why she's a Republican, long-time moderate Republican from Missouri, and why she would do it after the election.
Wait. She's a member of Congress?
Yeah, she resigned yesterday.
Republican or Democrat?
Republican. She's going to be CEO of some lobbying.
Well,
thing,
sure, she resigned to, come on. I mean, she's going to make some
money.
Well,
but no, I mean, I just think the timing is weird. It's and then I started reading around here, and I think I think she just couldn't take it anymore. She was going through this negotiation with this Congress, and she's been working well for 20 years, and she just thought it was a farce, and she left.
Well, it's pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
If you're in the House, I mean, then there's more yahoos coming in every minute. I don't know. Well, the highest, the group held in highest esteem are nurses. They're number one. The first, the top 10, Susan, you won't believe this.
Yeah.
Hang on. Top 10, nurses, pharmacists, medical doctors, engineers, dentists, police officers, college teachers, clergy, and psychiatrists.
Interesting. Can I point out that psychiatrists are doctors?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They got peeled off anyway. And I would say that members of Congress include senators. I mean, whatever. Anyway, here's what somebody crunching all that said. It appears that the people we trust most are people we have no choice but to trust.
Right.
Nurses, doctors, engineers, because they aren't just...
every single one of them is a boy. I hope you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Because they are experts in fields where we are not experts, and we have to trust their honesty, partly because we're rarely in a position to prove them wrong. We simply hope that they know what they're doing, right?
Right.
But the professions that are at the bottom are professions where we actually feel like we could do that, and we have our own ideas of how to do it, such as members of Congress. And the bottom are state governors, lawyers, insurance salespeople, senators, HMO managers, stockbrokers, advertising people, members of Congress, and car salesman people.
I think it's time to let lawyers off the list, for heaven's sake.
No. And journalists, we're right in the middle, but we're under bankers. Give me a break. Ridiculous.
Who trusts their I mean, really?
Yeah, who trusts their banker?
I mean, I would argue that bankers got to be below lawyers.
Well, you would argue, but sorry, the majority have spoken.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you lose. You lose. All right, well, I think that's it. I didn't get to half the stuff I wanted to talk about, but what the heck?
That's okay.
Because we're pretty much
done.
We're pretty much done. Let me just quickly check to make sure there's no brilliant things that some of our listeners want to get in. Nope. No brilliance. That's it. Suze, it's good having you back, and have a great day.
Okay.
Are you having this summery stuff, or are you already in the cold stuff?
Well, it was 75 yesterday.
Yeah.
It rained last night, but it's still pretty warm, I guess.
Okay. Well, we're in the upper 60s today, and then it's getting cold again. But it's ludicrous. What an easy winter.
Yeah, I feel like planting stuff again.
I know.
Awful.
The ground smells.
We're on the other side of it, and it's still 50 degrees here.
Okay. Enjoy.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Toodaloo. Goodbye. And as for the rest of you, goodbye to you, too. Get out there, because the sun's going to disappear in a few hours. And I'll be back tomorrow with Chris Potter in tow. Always a good time. Hope you can be there.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.